Indy 500 Films presents The Legends of the Brickyard.
While the Brickyard has had its share of dramatic moments over the years, one of the most dramatic occurred in 1985. Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins.
And I'm Larry Newbern. New names and faces grabbed most of the spotlight in '85, and no one grabbed more than Danny Sullivan. From a checkered cab in New York City to the checkered flag at Indy, or the powers that be must have been working overtime for Sullivan that year.
So sit back and relive that heart-stopping spin and win in the 1985 Indianapolis 500.
Sitting behind the wheel of an Indianapolis 500 race car. You might be as young as 21, as old as 50. You could be from almost anywhere in the world. Your formal education is not the prime requisite for this high-speed profession. A certain mechanical aptitude is a decided advantage, but more important is coordination, depth perception, reaction time, and a certain natural rhythm which can put you in tune with your machine. If you would hope to be among the top competitors here on this famous old track, you must be able to average at least 210 miles per hour. Your physical fitness must be such as to sustain you for over 3 hours of high-speed driving. Then, perhaps, you would have the good fortune to be the first at the checkered flag. That is, if you have been able to outdrive and outthink 32 other qualified competitors. This is as close as most of us will ever come to the reality of high-speed driving. It is a profession that can be financially rewarding, but the cold, hard edge of reality is always present, waiting for the slightest mistake. Team effort is the custom in championship racing. The driver is only one of a group who must communicate the problems of high-speed competition to each other. One such effort is the Penske team. Rick Mears, on the left, won the 500 in 1979 and 1984. His teammate, Al Unser, is a 3-time winner. The third member is Danny Sullivan of Louisville, Kentucky. When he arrived in early May, he brought with him his own idea for winning the 1985 Indianapolis 500.
Starting position here at the Indianapolis race is not that critical. I think actually Johnny Rutherford's won it from as far back as 28th position. This is a 500-mile race, and really the first 400 miles is just getting yourself into position.
Danny Sullivan's concept worked very well. In this, his third 500, he found the key to winner's circle by employing a simple, successful strategy. In 1945, race driver Sam Hanks visited the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, closed for the 4 years of World War II, at the invitation of master mechanic Cotton Henning.
And the track was solid weeds, about 2.5 to 3 feet high, the whole track. The grandstands looked like they were just ready to explode. And so we got in the car, we drove around with the swishing of the weeds and everything else, and I couldn't believe it. And anyhow, we pulled around in the front straightaway and we stopped in front of the grandstands, the two of us, and we looked at it and I says, Cotton, I think you're right. This looks like the end of Indianapolis.
But after months of cleanup and repairs, the Speedway came to life for the 1946 500. Emil Andres, who drove in the race, describes the cars.
They're
weren't any really new cars in the 46 race. They were mostly old from the 30s and converted over two-man cars. They weren't too reliable, but 10 of them stayed running for the full distance. And I think the speed was pretty good at 115 miles an hour average.
40 years later, and 100 miles an hour faster, the Speedway has entered the space age. Computers in the pits are part of team strategy. The mixture of fireproof clothing and two-way radios produces a man from Mars look. In Gasoline Alley, the problems are solved by an exchange of ideas. The nose of the new cars have been redesigned to protect the feet of the drivers. But burning the midnight oil is something that remains the same as it did in 1946. Scott Brayton of Coldwater, Michigan, sets 3 new track records on his qualifying run. His average, 212.354 miles an hour. Pancho Carter, a second-generation racer, breaks more records. He's on the pole at 212.583. Emerson Fittipaldi is from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Roberto Guerrero is from Colombia. Arie Luijendijk from Holland. Mario Andretti, Italy. And A.J. Foyt is from Texas. Al Unser puts one Penske team car in the race. Bobby Rahal, 211.818. Al Unser Jr., 209.215. Now, Danny Sullivan takes his turn. 4 laps, an average of 210.298. The third Penske car, Rick Mears, 209.796. Michael Andretti, 208 plus. 3-time winner Johnny Rutherford finally makes the field, 208.254. Dick Simon makes the race. So does his rookie driver, Raul Boesel from Brazil. For every success story, there is a disappointment. Expensive machinery turned to junk and frustrated drivers. This is the way of competition, where the rewards are the richest prize in racing. It's a tradition now. Before the race, the pole winner goes for a ride in the Goodyear blimp. Additionally, he gets to pilot the famous aerial landmark. Pancho Carter flies over his home in nearby Brownsburg, Indiana, then comes back to fly over the racetrack, where he is the fastest driver in history.
In capturing his only pole position at Indy, Buick driver Pancho Carter knocked the Cosworth engine out of the front starting position for the first time since 1977. It also marked the first time since 1958 that 2 different drivers held the 1- and 4-lap records.
For just a few moments, it is quiet in the main straightaway. And then there is a deluge of humanity. They're coming to see the 69th running of the greatest spectacle in auto racing. grandson drives George Robeson's 1946 winning car on a nostalgic lap around the track.
We've all been eagerly awaited. It is that time, and here to give the traditional command is the chairman of the board of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mr. Tony Allman.
Of 33 cars is led away by Jim Garner at the wheel of the Oldsmobile Calais pace car. All engines are started. The day is bright and warm with no possibility of rain. Right at the start, Bobby Rahal crosses over from his outside front row spot and takes the lead over Pancho Carter and Scott Brayton. Rahal dominates the race completely for the first 14 laps, with Mario Andretti, Scott Brayton, and Emerson Fittipaldi behind. Suddenly, there's a car slowing and coming into the pits. It's Pancho Carter in big trouble just 6 laps into the race. He has a leak in his oil cooler, which brings his brilliant qualifying run to nothing. It's Rahal, then Andretti, and Scott Brayton has an engine failure. Now, the first 2 cars on the front row are out.
It was certainly a heartbreaking finish for Pancho Carter. He became only the second pole sitter in history to finish last. The other was Cliff Woodbury back in 1929.
Now, Andretti leads with Rahal second. Al Unser is followed by Danny Sullivan. Fittipaldi makes a service stop. Bobby Rahal stops for fuel only. A.J. Foyt's life is complicated by a broken front wing, then a fire from a fuel leak. There's a few tense moments, but Foyt is out of his 28th consecutive 500. Mario Andretti continues to dominate the field, trading the lead back and forth with Fittipaldi. Bobby Rahal is out with mechanical problems after a brilliant run for the checkered flag. Unser Jr. watches his father, who is 6th and halfway through the 500. It's Andretti, Fittipaldi, Tom Sneva, and Danny Sullivan who moves up to challenge Andretti. He moves alongside in the main straightaway and makes his bid for first place going into turn 1. Incredibly, he comes out of the spin and continues on, only dropping back to 2nd in the process. You saw it once. Let's watch it again from other positions. Andretti drops down low as Sullivan spins around in a cloud of smoke. He doesn't touch a thing and recovers nicely. What you've just seen was history being made. Sullivan's tires have flat spots, so he comes in for service. Believe it or not, the Penske crew changed 4 tires and added fuel all in 19 seconds. The success story for last year's celebrated winner ends with a gearbox linkage jammed. Rick Mears will wait for next year. Now Andretti and Sullivan are at it again. Suddenly, it's Rich Vogler into the wall. Tom Sneva also spins and visits the wall. There's a big mess to clean up, and the race is slow. Andretti, with Sullivan glued to his rearview mirror. The close duel continues until Sullivan makes his move again on the 140th lap. This time, there are no mistakes. Danny Sullivan follows his own pre-race script and stays just ahead of Andretti as the laps tick away into history. Andretti and Fittipaldi duel for 3rd and 4th as Roberto Guerrero moves to 2nd. John Paul Jr. crashes in turn 2. The race is slowed. Al Unser pits for fuel and tires. Andretti makes his last pit stop. Sullivan is away in 16 seconds. Both he and Andretti will go the distance. Emerson Fittipaldi comes in. He's got an engine oil leak. Out of the race, lap 188. Sullivan is running out front as the field comes to the 10-lap marker, just 25 miles away from victory. Turn 3, Bill Whittington scrapes along the wall and stops. No injury, but the race is slowed again. When the green flag comes out on the 197th lap, the gap between Sullivan and Mario Andretti remains at just a couple of seconds. The white flag, just 1 lap to go. And there's the checkered flag. Danny Sullivan crosses over that 3-foot strip of red bricks, which he now owns, sort of his own private brickyard. No one had to point the way. He must have been rehearsing this drive into winner's circle all month.
Almost everything here has undergone one change or another over the years. And in 1985, Sullivan was the last driver to negotiate that sharp left turn into Victory Circle. The following year, a new hydraulic platform was used instead of those old ramps.
Danny Sullivan has arrived at Victory Lane.
In just a moment of time, a 36-year-old road racing competitor has become an instant celebrity. Close to 500,000 people witnessed his victory in person, and uncounted millions saw it on television. He will become the darling of the talk show hosts. Writers will pester him. Advertisers will force money into his hands, and race fans will love him. From here on out, life will be more complicated than Danny Sullivan could ever imagine. And all because he managed to keep his foot down on the throttle hard enough to stay just a couple of seconds ahead of Mario Andretti. Andretti comes in. Second place is worth $290,000. Roberto Guerrero is third. That's worth $157,000. Al Unser is fourth. The celebration continues as Sullivan rides in his new Oldsmobile pace car. There will be a profusion of other gifts, but the prize he will cherish most is that 3-foot strip of bricks, which they call Sullivan's Brickyard. At least until next year.
Danny Sullivan's victory marked the second straight for car owner Roger Penske, whose cars had now won 4 of the last 7. And with the total purse more than $3 million, Sullivan was the first man to take home more than $500,000 for himself.
Sullivan's teammate Rick Mears was also quite a story. Despite suffering severe foot injuries 8 months earlier that barely enabled him to walk, Mears ran at Indianapolis and went on to win the Pocono 500 later. That was the 8th straight year in which he had won at least one IndyCar race. And Dutchman Arie Luyendyk became the 3rd straight foreigner to win Rookie of the Year honors. I'm Bob Jenkins.
And I'm Larry Newber. By the way, the front row isn't always such a good deal. Carter, Brayton, and Bobby Rahal on the front row were among the first 7 cars out of this year's race. Well, we hope you have enjoyed the 1985 Indianapolis 500. Be with us again for our looks at the legends of the Brickyard.
Two great National League battles tonight on the Wednesday night baseball doubleheader on ESPN. Now the latest from the track and more. Racehorse Digest is